right. We on the class page, so we ought to be getting an alert.
Okay. I'm using my phone right now, but I'm looking at the top. Sometimes it's still notify at the top. There we go. We live.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Shalom, Makim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, we want to give all our praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect scattered across the four corners of the earth, who has pushing this word with all truth and sincerity. All right, to the 144,000 prophets who Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai has ordained to teach this word. To you all we say shalom, as well as to the large multitude that believes. All right, who the Lord is going to have mercy on, which consists of men, women, and children. To you all we say shalom as well. All right. We Great Millstone Dallas. I have the Elder Yatazak on the line, and I'm the priest Tazamah. And what we wanted to do was go into, if brothers in Aqua remember some years back, the Elder Yatazak and myself, we went through First Maccabees. We were doing a commentary on First Maccabees, the whole book. And it was on our older GMS Dallas page, but of course throughout time that page got deleted. So a lot of those videos got deleted as well. But the elder actually was able to he had some of them downloaded onto his page, and I believe it went up to chapter 6. But so we found it through the spirit. We was talking this weekend, and at class we was going through the our history of Hanak, or as they say Hanukkah, which we're actually in Hanak as we speak right now. And the whole history behind Hanak was the dedication of the temple. And at that time, our people was going through hell. We was being persecuted by the Greeks, the Edomites, Antiochus, Lysias, Regius, and we were being persecuted. And ultimately, they wanted to take away the temple. And the temple is what keeps us close to Yahweh by way of sacrifice. So, how much more now with us being in Hanak right now, and we see what Esau is doing right now, or how he wants to violate the temple again, and do it on a deeper level. Why not read about our forefathers today, all right, and go through to see the mindset that our forefathers had moving forward. And this go around, we're actually doing a whole book of Second Maccabees, which is an abridged version. The First Maccabees, it's a little detailed. It's a little more detailed to particular points. But through the spirit, we're just gonna go through the whole book. Of course, not today, but this is just Second Maccabees, chapter 1 that we're going over today. But I don't want to speak to idly speak too much, Elder. If you have any points or anything you want to bring out, or
yeah, I got a quick precept for you. This is Romans chapter 15, verse 4. It says, whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. And the reason why I wanted to bring that out is because when you go into the book of Maccabees and you understand what we were going through as a nation, and being in captivity under the Greeks and how they treated us and all these different things, the wrath that they showed towards us is coming back. You know what I'm saying? When we get into get that in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 real quick, Baba Kashar. Because see what you notice throughout the scriptures is you see repeated events that are based around the same topics, right? Is Israel being in captivity and rebelling against our captors, right?
Right.
All these different nations, and the Lord delivering us from these different nations each time that we called upon him when we were under the threat of imminent death. You see, we would get ourselves in these situations by mingling with the heathen and all these different things. And then when it got too tough for us, we would always call on Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai for our deliverance. And he would send a prophet. You know what I'm saying? He would send somebody, or a judge. He would send someone to get the nation ready for the repentance that they are requesting. Okay? Right. You got that in Ecclesiastes?
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 9. It says, "The thing that hath been is that which it shall be."
You see, the thing that has been is that which shall be. Okay, we've already been in captivity under the Greeks and then the Romans, right? Who are the Edomites. Now, it's gonna happen again. We in captivity up under the same group of people now. Okay, so when we go into the scriptures, when we go into the book of Maccabees, think about now, back then. You see, so when you hear these stories and you hear about the persecution and you hear about what's coming, you hear about the selling out, you hear about all these different things. You see these things going on now, right? Put yourself in this situation. We would be in the lot of the Maccabees right now, standing up against the Greeks in the wrong, standing up against the Greeks. You see? And when you go into the account and see how they stood up, when they felt weak, how they were recharged, all these different things, you can apply that to you. You can apply that to yourself. All right, go ahead.
Kind of. Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done.
That's what I'm saying. And what the Greeks did during the time of the Maccabees, they're gonna do it again. You see, that which is done, is that which shall be done. It's gonna repeat. You see, that's why when we go into the scriptures and we see these accounts and we see the history and we see how bad it was, and the Lord delivered us anyway. It gives us hope. It comforts us because we know that this devil is going to come even harder this time because technology has increased. You know what I'm saying? It's getting closer and closer for the Lord to send his son back. The prophecies are playing out to the point where, okay, when this was going on in the Maccabees, how did our people respond? All right, go ahead.
It says, the latter part of the verse, it says, and there is no new thing under the sun.
And there is no new thing under the sun. So that Edomite persecution upon Israel is all through the scriptures. That never stopped. And it's not going to stop until Yahushua is returned under the order of Yahweh. You see? People like to put the cart before the horse. No. A whole lot of stuff got to happen before we get delivered. But we do believe that our deliverance is imminent. All right? You got it?
Okay. I was going to say, okay. I was going to say, your screen is a little dark a little bit from your picture. You know how like when somebody's testifying that it's a lot better.
Okay.
Water. Okay, so I'm gonna jump to Second Maccabees, the book of Second Maccabees 1, and when you read Second Maccabees, the first chapter, this actually it's prescribed, or rather say, of two letters. All right, one letter pretty much from verses 1 through 10 was a letter that was written to the the Israelites in Egypt, I rather say. You had the Alexandrian Jews, and then you had another letter that was written to the same Jakes that were in Egypt, because you had the major two kingdoms, if you will, around the Grecian Empire was of course you have four. The kingdom was split into four heads. After Alexander, you had Lysimachus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucid, but the main two powerhouses was the Seleucid Empire and the Ptolemaic Empire. That's right. The Seleucid Empire ruled within Syria, Babylon, and Israel, but the Ptolemaic Empire ruled in Egypt and also wanted part of Israel as well. So we of course you had Israelites that was in Egypt. Okay, so like I said, this is two letters that was really comprised. The first letter was around 124 BC and the second letter was around 164. But it just, what you want to do is go through it. That's fine. So this is Second Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1. It says, the brethren, the Jews that be at Jerusalem and in the land of Judea, wish unto the brethren, the Jews that are throughout Egypt, health and peace. So, it shows you that our people was there in Egypt over there too. It says, the Most High be gracious unto you, and remember his covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his faithful servants. Right?
Now, keep in mind, how people like to say that the Apocrypha is not a part of the Bible, right? But the precepts match, the prophecies in it, like, bro, it was taken out of the Bible to begin with. So that argument, I would say, I remember at one point we were doing a series as a camp, proof that the Apocrypha is biblical. You know what I'm saying? But it's still all about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know what I'm saying? It's still dealing with the God, with the Most High and his son. You see, it's Yahushua is speaking in the Apocrypha as well, because it's all the volume of the book. And for you to think any otherwise, hey, you know what I'm saying? The scriptures talk about stumbling blocks. You see? All right. I'm gonna keep on reading since they cut the brother off. It says, "The Most High be gracious unto you, and remember his covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his faithful servants, and give you all in heart." Okay, we got the brother back. All right.
Slocky, phone call and kicked me off.
Oh, that's all good. It's all good. You can pick up where you was reading. I wouldn't even through the verse.
Okay, kind. So yeah, like the elder was mentioning, you know what I'm saying, people try to say the validity of the Apocrypha, is fake and it's not canonical, but here it is. They mention individuals they have their own relics in their in canonical history. You know what I mean? And they have their own history. So, but anyways, so it says, verse 2, the Most High be gracious unto you, and remember his covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his faithful servants. It says, and give you all in heart to serve him and to do his will with a good courage and a willing mind. And open your hearts in his law and commandments, and send you peace. Right? And hear your prayers and be at one with you, and never forsake you in time of trouble. Just kind of like how the epistles are opened up.
Right.
Like Paul always opened up the epistles talking about, pretty much peace and grace unto you. We praying for you, pretty much strengthening the brothers that was out there in Egypt, right? It says, and now we be here praying for you. What time as Demetrius reigned in the 169th year, we the Jews wrote unto you in the extremity of trouble that came upon us in those years, from the time that Jason and his company revolted from the Holy Land and kingdom.
That's what I'm saying.
Now,
We made it a point to document everything, man. The Lord put the Spirit on us to document these things so that we could go back to Him. With nothing being new under the sun and all these things being written aforetime, we go back to Him so we'll know what to do moving forward. You got it.
Yep. And when you read about Jason, I would say that we can get some history on him, but what we're gonna do is in Second Maccabees, the 4th chapter, that's where it goes into what Jason was doing. Which Jason pretty much was he pretty much usurped the high priesthood and underhanded his brother, and pretty much had leagues with Antiochus. He was pretty much a sellout, for lack of better words. But we're going to read more about that in the 4th chapter whenever we get to it, right? Just for the sake of time. It says, verse 8, it says, and burned the porch and shed innocent blood. And then we prayed unto the Lord and were heard. We offered also sacrifices and fine flour, and lighted the lamps and set forth the loaves. You see, and that's going into whenever Judas Maccabees and his brothers rose up, and what you had the dedication of the temple. It's like I said, the first chapter is an abridgment of history that took place as things that took place. He's giving them a summary of what happened.
And think about it like this: with the little hats. That's what I'm saying. If the logic that they bring in is true, then how dare you take out the Apocrypha?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to explain Hanukkah and where it came from. You see, in the scriptures, they call it the Feast of Dedications. They talk about Yahushua attending it. He was there.
Yep.
So so basically, with you trying to take out the history of the Greeks by eliminating the Apocrypha, you actually eliminating your own birthright once again.
Right.
So-called birthright, because it never was yours to begin with, but it doesn't make sense at all.
Right. It don't. Hey, this is a good and a key reason why Esau wants to say that it's fake and wants to try to delete it out of our history, because this is a history where it shows we was whooping his ass. Even though he came through with with his armies and was slaughtering us and doing things that the Lord allowed, by the way. Hey, when you go into the history of the Maccabees, man, hey, this is a great history to show you, like, man, look, through the strength and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, hey, we was on Esau's ass, man.
I was like, you would think they would use that.
Right.
You would think that they would use that. Because they like to say that the Maccabees was Greeks, You know what I'm saying? They like to say that the Maccabees was the Jews and they was fighting against the Greeks. They was fighting against the Edomites. But that's what I'm saying. The way that the Lord put the spirit on the Maccabees family, you would think that they would obviously want to steal their identity.
Right.
But they just erased it all together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, or it's fake.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
Kind. Verse 9, it says, and now see that you keep the feast of tabernacles in the month Caslu. Now this is really like the feast of dedication, but you can liken the feast of dedication to the feast of tabernacles, or they call it the feast of booths, because during the feast of tabernacles, you get a booth, you get branches, and you pretty much humble yourselves and you stay outside underneath branches, and it shows forth your humility. So they're saying, like, keep the feast of tabernacles in the month of Caslu, but you can liken it unto the same, just due to the humility of it, right? Verse 10, it says, in the 184th year, the people that were at Jerusalem and in Judea, and the council and Judas sent greeting and health unto Aristobulus, King Ptolemaeus' master, who was of the stock of another priest, who was of the stock of the anointed priest, and to the Jews that were in Egypt. Okay, now this Aristobulus was an Israelite. He was a Levite. And this is actually when you go into the history, this is Ptolemy the I want to say this is Ptolemy the sixth, if I'm not mistaken. Ptolemy the sixth Philometer.
Yeah.
And Aristobulus actually pretty much, how Alexander had came to the priest. Alexander pretty much came to the priest. This same Aristobulus, Ptolemy, he pretty much taught Ptolemy. You know what I'm saying? So that, he said, Aristobulus, King Ptolemaeus' master, who was of the stock of the anointed priests, into the Jews that were in Egypt. And like I said, we will get more history on this as we read through Second Maccabees. And you'll get more history on these names, right? It says, insomuch as the Most High had delivered us from great perils, we thank him highly, as having been in battle against the king. And that king here is talking about Antiochus, the Epiphanes, right? It says, for he cast them out that fought within the holy city. Because when you read First Maccabees, in particular the first chapter, you see what Antiochus was doing. He set up the altar of for them to offer swine's flesh, the gymnasiums and things of that nature, and it was all within the holy city, and within the temple. The temple was pretty much a club, like Elder Ariala say,
right?
It says, for when the leader was come into Persia, and the army with him that seemed invincible.
Let's see, all this, what the brothers read, it all matches up with what's going on in the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? When you read about Daniel prophesied about all this stuff that's going on that we're reading about during the Maccabean history. You know what I'm saying? A lot of what Daniel was talking about was going into these. Well, he talked about Alexander. He talked about Antiochus. You know what I'm saying? He brought up all these players.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that ushered in the Hellenization of the Israelites. You see, so that's like basically you saying that the Apocrypha is non-canonical. You basically taking out 45 minutes of a 2-hour movie, and you didn't even start the movie from the beginning, and you missed 45 minutes. But you gonna come tell somebody about the movie and do a review? No. You got to see the whole thing. You got it.
Yep. It's like watching Lord of the Rings, and you start a Lord of the Rings. You start the third one
first,
and then you try to tell somebody what happened. What's happening in the storyline. Yeah, you may have the storyline of the third one, but what about why is everything happening in the third one?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What events led up to this? So, that's what Christianity teaches. Christianity just teaches that you had the Old Testament, then you had the New Testament, the law's done away with, and everybody can make it. It's like, hold on a second.
I would say that's a super abridged version. Like, bro, it's way too many pages to just get that. So, yeah, hey, you got it.
God. It says, for when the leader, verse 13, for when the leader was come into Persia, and the army with him that seemed invincible, they were slain in the temple of Nania by the deceit of Nania's priest. Now Nania was an Eastern goddess, I'd rather say, that was worshipped amongst the Persians. Now, they're saying that Antiochus was slain at this point by the priest of Nania, but you read about the death of Antiochus in what is it, Second Maccabees, the ninth chapter, as well as Second Maccabees 9 and First Maccabees 6. It tells you how Antiochus was put to death. Now, you could say like, oh well, you can read this and you could be like, oh well, this shows that this isn't true or whatever the case may be, and blah blah blah, this, that, and the third. But when you read, when you hear a rumor of a death, and you can immediately write it, that could be what could have took place. You gotta remember, this is from somebody else's perspective of what they seen and things that they could have heard. So this letter could have been very soon after Antiochus died, like literally like right after he died, and they hearing word, the mouth ain't writing it down. See what I'm saying? So it says for Antiochus, and it might also too, this letter that we're reading here was the letter that was earlier, around like 164 BC, which is around the time that he died, by the way. It says, for Antiochus, as though he would marry her, talking about the goddess, came into the place, and his friends that were with him to receive money in the name of a dowry. Pretty much they wanted to spoil the temple, which when the priest of Nania had set forth, he was entered with a small company into the compass of the temple. They shut the temple as soon as Antiochus was come in. And opening a privy door of the roof, they threw stones like thunderbolts and struck down the captain, hewed them in pieces, smote off their heads, and cast them to those that were without. Blessed be our power in all things, who hath delivered up the ungodly. Because ultimately Antiochus died. That he was a wicked ruler, he was a wicked Edomite. Antiochus was wicked. And like I said, we're gonna read once we get deeper into the chapters, through time, you'll see what this man was doing. And Esau, he was a pompous and proud man. Okay.
Oh yeah, he was the epitome of an Edomite.
Yeah. Antiochus Epiphanes is God manifest.
Yep.
So he thought that, what I'm saying, he was pretty much saying he is God. And does not Esau have that same mentality today? I am and none else beside me. Lucifer, the light bearer. That's Esau, man. These are the Greeks. Why do you think all these different variants of things coming out of this Crown Royal 19 is all Greek names afterwards?
Nothing new under the sun, man. When you think about all the situations like Antipas. You know what I'm saying? When you think about what went on with Antipas, when you think about just all the different situations where Esau tried to impose their will. You know what I'm saying? The Lord delivered us every single time, man. It's documented. Bro, it's documented.
Yep.
Everything we need for salvation is documented in these scriptures, man. Period. Let me plug my laptop back up.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and continue.
Come on.
Okay. Verse 18, it says, Therefore, whereas we are now purposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 25th day of the month Caslu, which is the Feast of Dedication, we thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it. See? So he's telling the Israelites in Egypt to keep it as well. It says, as the Feast of Tabernacles. You see, in comparison, right? It's not saying that the Feast of Dedication is the Feast of Tabernacles, but keep it like the Feast of Tabernacles, right?
Right.
It says, and of the fire which was given us when Nemus offered sacrifice, after that he had builded the temple and the altar. You see, and he's going into Nehemiah's pretty much going into when Nehemiah pretty much when Nehemiah rebuilt it. He was the rebuilder of the temple when he built the walls of Jerusalem, and it was, the temple was rebuilt by Zerubbabel, almost a century before that. But it was the same concept. We had to go back into our land and begin to rebuild the temple.
Right,
after the Babylonian.
Which is what we also doing now via the 37th chapter of Ezekiel, man. The temple is being rebuilt spiritually now. You see, so the tearing down and the rebuilding of the temple, that's happening. You see, it's all a repeat. You see, no matter what captivity you go into, we've been in captivity under all the nations. You know what I'm saying? I would say we've been under we've been almost extinct a few times.
That's what Antiochus wanted to do.
Let the nations Cain. Cain tried to wipe out the legacy.
Yep.
Lamech tried to wipe out the legacy. You see? So now all of a sudden, Esau don't want to get rid of us.
Hey, the scripture says that he has a perpetual hatred. That word perpetual goes into antiquity. That perpetual hatred goes all the way back to, like you said, Cain and Abel, Jacob and Esau. He said, "Then will I slay my brother Jacob?" That hatred is still there, man.
That's right.
Just because he coming in sense of, JB, which he's showing you more and more that everything that he promised you niggas was a complete failure. Hey, this man he hasn't changed. Hey, the scripture tells you, can the Lord make straight that which was made crooked? Like what the Lord made crooked, he made crooked for a reason.
Right.
Point blank, period. I think I quoted it, backwards, but continuing on. So, you can liken this instance of the rebuilding of the temple, of when Nehemiah and the time when we went back into Jerusalem after during the Persian captivity, what happened? We began to rebuild the temple. So what? Now we're being rebuilt, the actual spiritual temple, and they're going to try to destroy the temple once more and defile it again. But what's going to happen? With this connection, Yahweh Shah is going to return and completely smash this dude in the mouth, man, and break his teeth. Right? Verse 19, it says, "For when our fathers were led into Persia, right? For when our fathers were led into Persia, the priests that were then devout took the fire of the altar privily and hid it in a hollow place of a pit without water, where they kept it sure, so that the place was unknown to all men." Now imagine that. Let's read that again. It says, "For when our fathers were led into Persia, right, the priests that were then devout took the fire of the altar privily." And this Persia is actually Babylon, see, which later became part of the Persian Empire, right? It says, the priests that were then devout took the fire of the altar privily, because remember, at this time, the altar was the temple was destroyed, so they took the fire of the altar privily and hid it in a hollow place of a pit without water, so that it won't burn out. A hollow place of a pit where they kept it sure, so that the place was unknown to all men. This was an unknown place where the fire would continually be burning. Just keep that in mind. Think about it spiritually. What is the fire? What is the light? It's the word.
That's right.
The word would never be destroyed. You see, the sacrifice with the fire was always still lit. It says now after many years, and that was all of the Lord, by the way, for that to happen. It says, "Now after many years, when it pleased the Most High, Nehemiah, being sent from the king of Persia, did send of the posterity of those priests that had hid it to the fire. But when they told us they found no fire, but thick water. See, then commanded he them to draw it up and to bring it. And when the sacrifices were laid on, Nehemiah commanded the priests to sprinkle the wood and the things laid thereupon with the water. See, because now when he found it, there was water in the place where the pit was dry. So he commanded to sprinkle the wood of that water, right? When this was done, and the time came that the sun shone, which afore was hid in the cloud, there was a great fire kindled, so that every man marveled. So when the sun came, the fire instantly lit back up.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine you seeing this.
Man.
That's heavy. And mind you, this was years down the line. They found it. The place was filled with water where the fire was lit. The priest went back. It was filled up with water. They took the wood, sprinkled the water that was there. The sun shone, and then all of a sudden, a fire lit. Come on, man. It says the people marvel. That was a miracle.
Yeah, it's hard to like wet wood
Right. Wet wood
for
that
us.
was for
Yeah,
us.
for us it's hard.
You know what I'm saying? But on top of that, it was the sun that shone upon it and it happened. Just imagine that. You in the middle of the woods, you need to light a fire, and the sun just shines upon the wood. All of a sudden,
Man,
like, come on, man. It says, and the priest made a prayer whilst the sacrifice was consuming. I say, both the priest and all the rest. Jonathan beginning, and the rest answering thereunto as Nehemiah did. And the prayer was after this manner: O Lord, Lord power, creator of all things, who are fearful and strong and righteous and merciful, and the only and gracious King, the only giver of all things, the only just, almighty, and everlasting, thou that deliverest Israel from all trouble. It is not the scripture say that alas, for that day has come, that no day is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be delivered out of it. We're going to be delivered out of trouble again. It says, and didst choose the fathers and sanctify them. So if the Lord chose our forefathers and sanctified them and separated them, how is everybody included in this? Was Nehemiah talking to everybody here? No, he was only talking to Israel, man. It says, receive the sacrifice for thy whole people Israel, and preserve thine own portion and sanctify it. See? So he's going to preserve. Matter of fact, I'm going to grab a precept real quick in Isaiah, the 1st chapter, real fast.
and that's what I'm saying. Why were all these things preserved? For the latter days, man. For the latter days, bro. When you think of, I'm saying just the information that's come out since we turned this camera on, man. That information is very necessary for those seeking salvation. Bro, the Christian church don't believe in the Apocrypha.
Yep.
Think about that. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. I would say the information that we possess through the Spirit, they telling us that that's not biblical when they got Bibles of their own. They're not doing anything that's in the Bible that they have. They chopped out pages of it, and you know what I'm saying? Like this is serious business. Go ahead.
Yep. That's very serious business, man. This is Isaiah 1:9. It says, except Yahweh of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah.
That's what I'm saying. So if it was left to the Christian church, we'll be done. We'll be done. Just like the elder Apostle Gabar did a video earlier about going into what was it? He was basically going into teaching the right way. And he used the example of when Job was going through his tribulations and his friends were trying to console him, but they offended Yahweh by trying to console Job. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that the way you present his word, the way you present Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, it has to be corrected on point.
Right.
You see? So by taking the Apocrypha out, that eliminates a lot of history that we need to know why we fell away, that falling away, how we became Gentiles. All of that is in the Apocrypha.
Yep.
You see? And like the brother's saying, the further we get into Second Maccabees, the more you're going to begin to see how all these things tie together. You got it?
Yep. And it's spiritual, because with that water, just laying back, just everything what you just said, with that water that was sprinkled upon that wood, because that fire was burning in a cistern, and then they went back and get it, and it was water that was in there. So as soon as they used that water, they scooped some of that water out of that cistern and sprinkled it on the wood, and the sunshine and the light was upon it. What was that water? The water that represents Yahweh Shai. So what? The sacrifice was able to flame again, just based upon that water being sprinkled upon that wood. That was pleasing to the Lord. You see that? Mm-hmm. And we were able to sacrifice again. And that was a miracle. That's heavy, man. That's heavy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It says, receive the verse 26 again. Receive the sacrifice for thy whole people Israel, and preserve thine own portion and sanctify it. Like we said, the portion of who's the Lord's portion begins with the elect, and the elect are sanctified.
That's right.
Because through the loins of the elect will the whole nation of Israel be preserved once more again. It says, gather those together that are scattered from us. Scattered, there it is. The Israelite foreigners, deliver them that.
That's what I'm saying. That links up with the prophecies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was saying because even if you take the Apocrypha out, based on the Old Testament and the New Testament, it's still you like, bro. So when you get the Apocrypha in there, you're like, oh, okay. You have to see that through the Spirit. You have to see that. You see, and the men that have seen that through the Spirit are pushing. Go ahead.
Time. It says, gather those together that are scattered from us, deliver them that serve among the heathen. Look upon them that are despised and abhorred, and let the heathen know that thou art the Most High.
Bro, you see how during the time of the Maccabees, you see the heavy persecution that we was under. Read that again, bro.
It says, verse 27, gather those together that are scattered from us, deliver them that serve among the heathen. Look upon them that are despised and abhorred, and let the heathen know that thou art our power.
That's what's happening. We letting the heathen know that Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai is our power, and we the Israelites, and they the Edomites. And we go into the history of how, bro, just last Friday, I don't know how ways and the byways, we went into the whole history. From Cain and Abel to Jacob and Esau, all the way up to lynching in America, that sign where we preach that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't snatch out the Apocrypha and come to that conclusion.
Yep.
You got it.
Yep. And the Lord is going to show, he's going to show the Gentiles. When I say the Gentiles, I'm talking about the actual heathen. He's going to show the heathen that he is our power. He's doing that right now, but it's waking up. You know, like it tells you in Hosea, the 1st chapter, there shall it be said to you, ye are the sons of the living power. But the Lord is going to make that known by way of his power, by showing, like, look, you touched the apple of my eye. This is what I'm going to do to you.
No, so he showed us his power. He showed us his power by putting his whooping stick on us.
Mm-hmm.
He used his left. The Lord got a cold left hand. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
His right hand is even colder. You see?
That's right.
So we've seen the left hand side of the Heavenly Father as a portion of this movie. You see?
That's right.
But I would say the hero always wins at the end. Even when the villain looked like he got you dead to rights. You know what I'm saying? He telling you his plan, got you tied up, but the hero always jiggle free. That's the Spirit of the Lord jiggling the hero free. Period. Yep. Point blank. And they ain't gonna be able to do nothing about it. I don't say the Lord wrote for Yahweh Shai to be the hero.
Yep.
And he made Edom the antagonist. So
that's what the Lord wanted.
There you go. They will say the Lord already conquered Satan. He conquered Satan on top of that mountain in Matthew 4.
Yep.
Then he conquered death. You know what I'm saying? That's the power that we serve. Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh created Yahweh Shai to conquer death, to bring righteousness. All the titles that Yahweh Shai got, that's what I'm saying. And even in the Apocrypha, whether you believe it or not, our forefathers and our foremothers were sticking to that narrative that matches the rest of the Bible. Ain't nothing new under the sun. I was like, it ain't nothing that happened in the Apocrypha that didn't happen in the rest of the Bible. It's the same story.
Same thing.
It's the same story. It's just more accounts to give us hope, to give us comfort. You know what I'm saying? Because we already were comforted by the regular Bible by itself, getting the understanding. But when the Lord opened up the Apocrypha and the understanding that tied everything together, it made us even that much stronger. So now you're dealing with a spiritual juggernaut. It ain't nothing that you can throw at us through the Spirit that we won't be able to deal with because we stick to the doctrine. Just like during the time of the Maccabees, they stuck to the doctrine. When we had our moments of weakness, what did Judas do? What did Judas Maccabees do? He went back into the accounts. He went back into the scrolls. He went back into our history. That's what we're doing now. So when you got all these other groups out there that's just ready to bend over for Esau, ready to roll up their sleeves, ready to do all these things, we are that group that's saying no. We rather die than transgress the laws of our Father. Period. Point blank. That's what I'm saying. This book of Maccabees gets very heavy. It gets very heavy. This is just an introduction. You see? This is just the introduction. And Lord willing, it'll continue to be edifying and give us that hope and that comfort that we need. Because this devil about to bring it. He's about to bring it. When you go through this book of Maccabees, whether it's the first book or the second book, when you go through this history, when you see the venom and the vitriol that's spewed at Israel from them Edomites, it's worse now. It's worse now. So we're going to need that higher power. You see? We're going to need Yahweh to send Yahweh Shai and the angels. Period. You got it?
God. Verse 28. It says, punish them that oppress us, and with pride do us wrong. You see? And that's what we pray to Yahweh Shai, to punish our enemies, man. And that's what the Lord is getting ready to do. We're being oppressed by all the heathen, but starting with the nation of Edom.
Now, so we living in the time now. We living in the time now to where we called on the Lord and he sent the judge. We called upon the Lord and he gave us a king. We called upon the Lord. He sent us a savior to die for our sins. Fast forward 2,000 years later. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Every single time that we were at our lowest point, at our weakest, looking like we finna be, bro, if Esau is able to do what he want to do, if he's able to do that, it's a good thing that he's not prophesied to be able to pull that off. You see? That's what I'm saying. Haman wanted to have everybody done. It flipped on his head. You right? Herod, all these dudes, Pharaoh, all of them, Nebuchadnezzar. Every last one of them, the Lord flipped it on their head, man. But all of a sudden, he going to leave us high and dry. Now, look, I implore you, brothers and sisters on this comment board, go into the account of the Maccabees. Put yourself in this situation. Feel that fear. Feel that bravery. Feel the Holy Spirit take over your body to where you understand that this has to happen. And that as long as you stick to the doctrine, as long as you stick to the script, you'll be fine. Death don't matter to us. It's already been conquered. Oh, you worried about if it's going to hurt? The Lord can take care of that too. the Lord, get that word, where the Lord said, don't fear them that can just kill the body.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get that real quick. Because at the end of the day, man, a lot of our people, they give Esau more credit than he deserves. You know what I'm saying? They think Esau controlled the Lord. They think the Illuminati is controlling everything. No. The Lord is controlling everything. And ain't nobody doing nothing that the Lord ain't sanctioned. So you need to recognize who got control over this whole thing, man. All you hear about is the Israelites being victorious in the last days. I don't know what else you need. Because if you don't believe, the Lord ain't going to deal with you. You've been given enough to believe. We've been given enough to believe. You got it.
Con, this is Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. It says, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
See, our people don't understand that. Forget about the Christian. Forget about the rest of the world. Let's just deal with Israel. Read that again, Baba Kashaw.
Kind of says, and fear not, Matthew 10:28, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul.
That's what I'm saying. So all you big, overgrown, monkey-ass niggas with your sleeves rolled up and your chest poked out and your AK nowhere to be found, yeah, read it again.
It says, and fear not them which kill the body, but, fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
I would say when this devil come to you talking about roll your sleeve up, you tell him no, and the Lord will take care of you. Either you believe that or you don't. You know what I'm saying? And it's looking right now that these other groups, at least the leadership of these other groups, don't. Zero fear of the Lord, man. Zero fear of the Lord. But that's what I'm saying. You heard about what happened to them people in the Maccabees that were selling out and being niggas. They got destroyed. They all got destroyed. You know? You got it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This is verse 29 in 2 Maccabees 2. We're going to begin to wrap it up. It says, plant thy people again in thy holy place, as Moses had spoken. See, the Lord is going to plant us back in the land of Israel. See, the Lord is going to put us back there. We ain't going to take no plane tickets to go out. We ain't going to flee Babylon by way of planes and ships. When I say ships, I'm talking about boats and things of that nature. No, the Lord is going to plant us back in our own land. Right? It says, and the priests sung psalms of thanksgiving. It says, now when the sacrifice was consumed, Nehemiah commanded the water that was left to be poured on the great stones. Interesting, right? Who are the stones today? Yep. We're lively stones, and the lively water is being poured upon us.
Exactly. See? That's what I said. We are lively stones because of that water.
Exactly. It says that now when the sacrifice was consumed, Nehemiah commanded the water that was left to be poured on the great stones. When this was done, there was kindled a flame. Ooh, man, that makes me think of Elijah. Whenever the prophets of Baal, whenever Elijah doubts the altar with the water, and the fire came down and still lit it.
That's it.
So imagine that he poured water on the altar, right, on the stones, and then a fire flamed again, right. It says, now when this was done, there was kindled a flame, but it was consumed by the light that shined from the altar. Man. So it was a miraculous. It was probably an angel there doing that. It said that the angels are ministers of fire. It says, so when this matter was when this matter was known, it was told the king of Persia that in the place where the priests that were led away had hid the fire, there appeared water, and that Nehemiah had purified the sacrifices therewith. Then the king, enclosing the place, made it holy after he had tried the matter. So the king of Persia pretty much like closed that place off as a holy place, right? And the king took many gifts and bestowed thereof on those whom he would gratify. And Nehemiah called this thing Naphthar, Naphthar. Let me read that again. And Nehemiah called this thing Naphthar, which is as much as to say a cleansing, but many men call it Nephi. See, because the altar was cleansed with that water that was within that canister, if you will, that was hid. See, and the king heard of it. He was like, man, he closed that place off. So that was just a little bit of history in 2 Maccabees, the first chapter. Did you have anything else that you want to go, or anything else you want to add on?
Oh no, hey, Lord willing, the spirit to be put on us to get through the whole thing, because we need this information. You know what I'm saying? To have this understanding, to go look into it for yourself. Go look into it for yourself, man. Because just like, bro, we was learning while we was teaching.
Man,
you know what I'm saying? Because it's been a minute. It's been a minute since because you go to certain chapters to make certain points, but you just go through the whole book, just like the apostles and elders say, get into the whole chapter, man. I've benefited tremendously, learning wise, by going into full chapters and seeing those histories and commentaries and breakdowns. So through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, I truly believe that we are going in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Because we sticking to the doctrine. We being as diligent as this flesh will allow us to be. You know what I'm saying? With the spirit of the Lord taking over when he needs to. But this is a very heavy book. And one of the reasons why it's so heavy is because we actually living in this time again. The heavy persecution during this time period has returned. So you can go ahead and close us out, brother.
Hey, so with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the elect. We want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Badash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth. And as always, much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.